Hello. I'm so glad you're watching this video. Thanks for joining me. I want to explain why this specific topic is so near and dear to my heart. Virtuous character qualities, it's not something that we talk about very often, is it? But it's so important. I do a lot of research with my PhD on how to be authentic, meaning how to be our true self. And with this, I also do research on purpose, meaning in life, and getting down into the core being of our inner life. So it's pretty heavy, pretty deep. But in high school, actually, middle school too, it's that strange time of life where we're trying to figure out who we are, but there's so many outside influences that impact who we are that unless we have a deep, firm foundation of who we are, we might allow people to influence in a way that we later won't be too proud of. So another reason that I am very passionate about this topic is that now that my kids have grown up and I have 4 in their 20s, one about to turn 30 actually, I'm hearing from them that it's not worth their time to date because people don't have virtuous character qualities. So let me explain what that means. If you have friends that lie to you and hurt your feelings, they say they're going to be somewhere and they stand you up and they don't really think much of it. It hurts your feelings. It makes you not trust them. Trust is huge, right? We need to trust that the people in our life will do what they say they're going to do. And this goes much deeper than that. Especially as you get older and, in your 20s and 30s, might be thinking about getting married. You want to know that your spouse, your potential spouse that you may spend the rest of your life with, is someone that's trustworthy. And this goes into all of our behavior. When you see people that are, maybe they're just not dressing appropriately and they're showing too much of their body, then they lack modesty. And they do that maybe for attention, but what is that really doing to us? And is there anything good that comes from that? Or compassion. When we have a boss, let's say you have a job, and you need to take time off to go somewhere. Perhaps you have a family activity or you're going out of town for Christmas or whatever, and you ask your boss for time off and they say no. Or you tell your boss there's this special event happening in your life and you're excited. Maybe it's your high school graduation and you are so excited. And they say, you can't have the day off. Or it's prom and you're really looking forward to going to prom and you've bought the outfit and you're ready to go. And they say, you can't have the day off. Or someone in your family has passed away and you need to have time off to go to the funeral. And they say no. Compassion, empathy, caring, love, that virtuous character quality deep inside of us that shows that we care for someone else, it makes a difference, right? So this video and the accompanying workbook gets into a few situations as to why it's important to have virtuous character. I'll mention several, But please know that that's not the only virtuous character that's out there. And this is a great conversation to have with your family. Are there specific family values that they hold near and dear? Maybe integrity, honesty. Are there things that, as a family, you don't want to bend? There are just certain things that you are making the decision you will not give in to any peer pressure or influence from anyone else. What are those things? Okay, so let's jump right into our workbook. Okay, so let's think about, why is it important to develop virtuous character? And oftentimes with this, it's easier to think about people that you know that do not have virtuous character and how that makes you feel. So think about how you feel when somebody lies to you or they don't fulfill a promise. Not too good, right? You feel like you're let down, you can't trust them. There's brokenness in that relationship. Think about how you feel if you find out that another student in class cheated on a test. And as a result, it impacts you. That's upsetting, right? This could be a big test. What if this was a matter of you getting into a certain club or a certain school or winning a certain scholarship? You find out that someone cheated, and as a result, you lost. Or maybe you're trying out for a certain team, and you find out that someone's using some type of performance enhancer that, as a result, they ran faster or swam longer or whatever. Doesn't feel very good, does it? So having virtuous character is important because you also know that people that do have it are very consistent. Doesn't mean they're perfect, just means they're consistent. You can rely on them. And wouldn't you want to be a role model for somebody where they can trust you, rely on you, and know that what words you speak, you'll follow through on? And that your actions, your behavior matches those character traits. How can we live an authentic life in our world today? Well, authenticity is a word that means you're being true to yourself. Being true to yourself in our world today is difficult. I know it is. But that makes it that much more important. So I want to challenge you. Dig deep into who you are, why you believe what you believe, and be true to yourself. This is so important. And what is the benefit of authenticity living? Of authentically living a virtuous life? There's huge benefits. You have better relationships because people can rely on you and trust you. They know how you will react to certain situations. If you're truly living an authentic lifestyle with virtuous character, people won't even come to you with the peer pressure that they go to other people because they know you won't give in. This helps you with your friends, your parents, your teachers, your employer, colleges, jobs in the future, because it's building a reputation that you know who you are, you know what you believe in, you're firm in this, you won't give in or bend, They can trust you, rely on you. They're confident. And then people are willing to do all sorts of things. But mostly, they're willing to trust you. So living an authentic life is so important. So important. And unfortunately, we don't have classes to teach us these things. This is my response to that void. I want to teach you about a virtuous lifestyle that will help you thrive your entire life. So let's jump right into some of our lesson today. I want to give you some examples, several examples, because I think this helps with this topic specifically. In this example, Aaron lives on campus with his roommate. His roommate is Taylor. Taylor's a pretty cool kid. He's got a lot of friends. He's pretty popular, but he's not very good with his schoolwork. And Taylor's worried that he's going to fail a class. So he asks his buddy Aaron to help him with a test, but not help him study. He just wants Aaron to take the test, write down the answers, and then give them to Taylor. What do we call that? Cheating, lying, stealing. It's wrong. How do we know it's wrong? We know it's wrong. It's illegal. Your school handbook tells you it's wrong and there will be punishment. The 10 Commandments in the Bible say that it's wrong. We need to know that this virtuous character is more than my opinion that it's right or wrong. It is wrong because it's wrong. It's a very clear line. It's either black or white. There's no gray area. There's no little fine white lie. There's no justification that I'm trying to help. It is wrong, and therefore it is wrong. So, what do you think Aaron would do? Better question. What would you do? What would you do in this situation? Especially if it's your best friend, your roommate, a person you have to look in the eyes every single day. I want to challenge you to stand up and be firm and be able to give yourself permission to speak the truth and say, no, Taylor, I'm not copying down the test results for you. That's wrong. If you want me to help you study, I'll be glad to. And what does that say? That says, I'm not doing the wrong thing, but I care about you and I'll help you pass the test the right way. Better answer? Okay, so let's keep going. These words, values, virtues, ethics, noble, they all sort of dance around the same campfire. So I want to talk about what these definitions are. Values is a set of beliefs and ideas affecting the way people make decisions and conduct themselves. It's the regard that something is held to deserve importance, worth, or usefulness, a price we place on something, its value. So value sort of has two definitions, right? Because if I go to the store and I buy something, it costs me money. And I can say that the value of this item is whatever. But we talk a lot about values with family values, values in the workplace, values in the school. And it means that it's our value that we place, our worth that we place on this, and our behavior and actions are responses to that. So if I value my friendship with you, I'm willing to do whatever I have to do to help you. If I don't value the friendship, I won't do anything, right? So it boils down to these beliefs that we have. And the response is the words that come out of our mouth, our actions. So let's go for another example. John and Sarah are dating. They're attracted to each other. And in high school, they made a promise to not have sex before marriage. They want to save themselves for marriage. They want purity, innocence, and they want to be able to give this precious gift to their future spouse. And in high school, this was easier because they lived in separate places, they had parents, they had chaperones, they were going out with groups, and they weren't spending a lot of alone time together. But in college, they spend more time together. And this attraction that they have is getting deeper and deeper and more intense. And they don't know what to do. Maybe they are pretty sure they're going to get married. So they're just trying to make the decision, do we still wait or not? This is a situation that many people end up in. Oftentimes, they've not even made a promise to themselves to begin with. Wherever you are in your life, maybe you've already had sex. Maybe you've not. I want to challenge you to make that decision today. You can start over. Make that decision today that you will wait and save this special gift for your future spouse. Because I can tell you, when you have sex outside of marriage, it doesn't feel right. You feel guilty. You feel ashamed. Sometimes you feel dirty. You feel like you're doing something you shouldn't be doing. And that's because you are. And how do I know this? I know this because the Bible tells me so. Because the Bible talks about marriage and sexual relationships, and that we are to only have sexual relationships in marriage, and that marriage is only between a man and a woman. And that's my belief. I have faith in the Bible, and that is where I get my truth. And sometimes the truth in the Bible is different than the truth in our world. And then there's confusion. Or is there? For me, I always go to the Bible for my truth. Even when the world says it's okay, if the Bible says it's not, I don't do it. Now, I'm not perfect. I've not always been like this, and I will continue to make mistakes. But my value system is such that I have been married for over 20 years to one man, and that's it. There's a special bond, there's a special relationship. So I want to challenge you. Think about this in your life today. Whether you have a girlfriend or boyfriend or not, prepare early or stop what you're doing now and make some decisions. When will you have your first kiss? Is it on your first date? Are you going to wait a few months? Are you going to wait for marriage? Tim Tebow's been in the spotlight for this quite a bit lately. He wants to be a virgin when he gets married. And he's made some hard decisions along the way, but he is stuck to those decisions, and it's well worth it. You can do this too. So if you were in this situation, what would you do? My recommendation is to not spend alone time or to limit it. When you go out with your boyfriend or girlfriend, go out in a group. Have a chaperone. Yes, the world says, do it. Go for it. As many people as you want. Boys or girls, do whatever. But that's not the right thing. And there's reasons for that. So think about this scenario. Very hard. Put your boundaries up. And when you have good quality friendships, they'll help to hold you accountable. If they see you getting too flirty with somebody, they might pull you back and say, hey, remember your promise. It's worth the wait. Okay, next one. Virtue, a thought or behavior guided by high moral standards. High moral standards. When I think of virtuous behavior, I'm thinking of some of the highest moral standards that there could be. Right? If you look around your high school, maybe you see a girl or a guy that they've made a promise to themselves not to date, not to get close to somebody until they're ready for marriage. And you think, wow, that's hard. I commend them for that. But what does the world usually do? They usually make fun of them. They make it get harder than it already is. But watch them. Watch how they protect themselves. They protect their heart. They don't put themselves in those situations. Some people call them a goody two-shoes or a goody-goody. But they're trying to have virtuous character traits. And I can tell you it's not easy, especially in our world today, but it can be done. So I want to challenge you to do that and befriend other people that are doing that, because when you're in groups that are all trying to aspire to be virtuous, it's easier to do it together. Here's an example. Monica met a new group of friends at school. When you go to college, you're going to meet new people too. They're going to a nightclub and asked her to tag along. What will she do? Well, in and by itself, going out with a group of friends is not bad. So I'm not saying she can't go. I'm not saying she has to stay in her room all night and study. Right? You want to have fun. And that's okay. Fun, joy. It's good stuff in a healthy way. So how can Monica prepare to have healthy relationships? If she's going to a nightclub, that infers there might be drinking. So is she old enough? If you're not old enough to drink, don't do it. It's wrong. Yes, you probably can get access to it. You might want to do it because you think it's cool or everyone else is doing it. But it goes back to that virtuous character. Is it right or wrong? There's no gray area. So if Monica chooses to go to the nightclub, she should be old enough. Now, if she's going with a group of friends, they should make a pact that no one goes home with anyone else. They all go home together. and that they watch out for each other so that there's not any inappropriate touching or kissing or anything else. And if they're in a nightclub and they're old enough to drink, they need to be careful with their drinks. When you have a cup, keep your hand over it. So no one can slip a drug in your drink and rape you. A closed container, always in your hand or in your sight, is best. And you make plans ahead of time. What time will you leave? Who's driving? Make sure you stay safe. And if you have all this preparation, you can go and have fun. But you need to do it in a safe way. And what you might find is that going to a nightclub as a woman or guy with virtuous character is just not worth it. It might be much more fun to have your group of friends that have similar values over to your house, out to dinner, go to a movie, somewhere that you can be safe. And let your guard down a little bit because you're with a group of people that you trust. Noble. Sometimes you hear somebody say, "Oh, that's noble of you," or they have noble, virtuous characters. So noble is having or showing fine personal qualities or high moral principles and ideals. It's very much like virtue. And I love to use noble when I'm speaking of men and virtue when I'm speaking of women. I think they're pretty closely related, and it just sounds that the man can be noble and the woman can be virtuous. So that's usually how I differ with those two words. Brenda is away at school, and her popular new friend challenges her to a tattoo. She never thought about a tattoo, but she thinks it will help her social status at school, and she could probably hide it anyway. What will she do? Well, each one of these examples are real life examples. Unfortunately, many people don't think about these things ahead of time. And then you get caught up in the moment, and before you know it, you have this permanent symbol on your body. Now, me personally, I don't like tattoos. Other people don't see an issue with it. Again, I'll tell you why I don't like them. And I don't have one. I can tell you that some of my kids have one. So I can also tell you I'm not happy with that. But here's the thing. In the Bible, it talks about our body as a temple and that we are made in God's image. Well, I can tell you that if my body is a temple and I'm made in God's image, I don't want to mess it up any more than I just do naturally. So I stay away from tattoos. On a practical side, I could never think of one symbol that I would want permanently on my body for the rest of my life. And I cannot think of what it would look like if I did one today when I'm 60, 70, 80 years old. So for me personally, I have made the decision to not get a tattoo. And those are my reasons. Now, I want to ask you, what is your family's position on tattoos? Will you respect your family if they say no? Or if they have tattoos, that doesn't mean you have to have tattoos. This is a decision that you need to make, but I want you to make it early. And maybe you already have tattoos. I'm seeing people younger and younger with them. So that's a decision for you. Again, you know my reasoning, and I'm not judging. If you have one, that's your business. My children have one, that's their business. I just told them the next time they do it, it better say, I love mom. But really, it's a decision for you to make. As a person with virtuous character, noble character, that's your body, made in God's image. You make that decision. Morals, the function of applying ethical principles. And there's the Greek word meaning custom. Ethical principles. Well, doesn't ethics mean to do the right thing? When we look at our world today, at least from a leadership perspective, the word ethics comes up when we think of places like Enron, WorldCom, Wells Fargo, Martha Stewart. These are people in businesses that have made bad decisions. And as a result, a lot of people got hurt. So our choices, our actions, our words, that's part of our moral character, our moral compass. This entire school, Dean's Moral Compass Academy. It's the idea that you know which way to go. You have a compass guided by your morals, values, virtues, nobility. That you yourself understand what's inside of you, what your belief system is, that you can defend it, and you will make choices based on that, that you can discern right from wrong. Another example, Cameron is in school on a baseball scholarship, and he's pretty good. But he notices that others on his team are better, and he finds out that some are using illegal drugs to enhance their performance. What will he do? Well, first, he's comparing himself to someone else. So I want to caution you with that. Because although Cameron thinks he's not as good as the others, I can tell you that he's already better because he's not doing something illegal yet. If we have to cheat to do something illegal so that we can, quote, be better than someone else, it's not worth it. At the end of the day, I want you to be able to go home and go to bed and know that you did your best on your own, that you're not using illegal substances, that you're not cheating or lying or stealing to try to get ahead, that you're doing this for yourself because it's the right thing to do. And that takes courage. Especially in our world today when so many people are doing it. It takes courage to stand up and do the right thing. And I want to challenge you to do that. Ethics, a philosophical examination of what constitutes right or wrong behavior. Rules of conduct based on the rightness or wrongness of actions. Character. When we have ethics, we're trying to do the right thing. And that's about it. And many schools have an ethical code of conduct, if you look in your handbook. And in that ethical code of conduct, it talks about plagiarism, stealing, lying, honesty. All of these things that happen in schools. Many colleges are very specific about drinking, drugs, and that you can't do it. That if you get in trouble with the law, they'll kick you out. So that's one thing to think about. If you go to a school like that, that has a strict code of conduct, expectations for you to be ethical, you're automatically going to be with other people that are trying to have virtuous character qualities. And that might help to relieve some of the pressure. Megan has friends that are guys and friends that are girls. She's always been confident as a heterosexual woman, meaning Megan likes guys. And she expects one day to get married to a man. But she's finding that many girls on campus are extra flirty with her, and they've asked her to stay the night. And I can tell you, this is becoming more and more of an issue. I'm not really sure why. I guard myself by not watching a lot of television and movies. I try to be very particular about what goes into my head, into my mind, my ears, my heart. And so I can only imagine, just from the little bit that I have seen on television, it does seem to be a much more promiscuous experimentation thing than it has been in the past. So we need to ask the question, what is your stance on homosexuality, on experimenting with the same sex? My stance is that we should wait until we get married to have sex, and that sex is between a husband and wife. Period. That's it. So if you find that someone of the same sex is flirting with you, I say put up a boundary. Why do I believe this? Because in our world today, especially in our world today, where they're saying inclusion and diversity is all about being gay, lesbian, transgender, whatever other words you want to use for this. There's quite a few different words. I go back to the Bible, and the Bible says that homosexuality is wrong. The purpose for a man and woman to get married and have sex after marriage is to procreate, meaning have babies, populate the world, to multiply. We can't do that with a guy and guy relationship or a girl and girl relationship. We can't do that. And it's not the right thing to do. And I have friends and I have family that are gay. And I've seen the trouble that they've experienced in their life. And I wouldn't wish that on anybody. So if you have these feelings, if you yourself have already experimented, I want you to reach out and talk to somebody. Talk to your parents, your pastor. But you have to be careful who you talk to. Because so many people in the world today think it's okay. And it's not. And I know it's not because the Bible tells me it's not. And I know it's not because I've seen the results of these relationships. It's very damaging. So in this situation, even if this sounds innocent, if I was Megan, I would not go. In fact, I think I would find new friends. I would make my stance known that I'm only interested in guys and that I'm only interested in saving myself for marriage. And have the courage to say that. And if you're a guy in this situation, same thing. Have the courage to say that you are waiting for marriage. And that you believe marriage is between a husband and wife. And I would even challenge, what is the good of having sleepovers? Is it worth it? Is it productive? Is it necessary? You could still go to your friend's house, and when it's time for bed, go home. Under no reason should you have another person in your bed until you're married. No circumstance. It's just too dangerous. Save yourself for marriage. Authentic living. I'm going to give you 12 questions for you to think about. And in your workbook, I list these 12 for you. I want you to score them. Does this feel like you? Do you have this situation in life? And this is broken down into 3 topics. The first is authentic living. So what this means is basically, I am who I am, and I'm the same person whether I am at school, at home, at church, with my grandparents, with my best friend. Same person. I'll behave the same way. I act the same way. I use the same words. End of story. So here's the first 4 questions. I am true to myself at school in most situations. At school, I always stand by what I believe in. I behave in accordance with my values and beliefs in school. I find it easier to get on with people in school when I'm being myself. So these 4 questions will help you measure if you're actually being authentic, if your beliefs and your words and your actions are all consistent with one another. The second section is self-alienation. So self-alienation is where you don't feel like you fit in. Or maybe you step away, step out of the situation. So at school, I feel alienated. I don't feel who I truly am at school. At school, I feel out of touch with the real me. In my school environment, I feel cut off from who I really am. So you want a low score here. The first section, you want a high score. This section, you want a low score because you want to be yourself. And this means you may not fit in, right? It means that you may be different than everyone else. And I say that's a good measurement in and of itself. If you stand out as being different, good job. You should be. So this will help you figure out how you're doing. Do you always feel confident in who you are, despite the people around you and the words they may say to you and the looks you may get? If you're being authentic, then you feel like you're being your true self anywhere you go. Accepting external influence. Now, depending on the situation, this score can fluctuate. So at school, I feel the need to do what others expect me to do. And this depends, right? Because if you have a group of students that are your friends and they have a similar value system to you, they could be holding you accountable and expecting you to do virtuous things. But if you have a group of friends that are not, and they're more worldly, They may be wanting you to drink alcohol and smoke cigarettes and act in ways that are not virtuous. So it depends on who you're with. The second question, I am strongly influenced in school by the opinions of others. The third one, other people influence me greatly at school. And finally, at school, I behave in a manner that people expect me to behave. So all of these questions depend on your circumstance. And I want you to take these 4 questions and maybe put it in the context of different groups. So answer this in the group of your circle of influence, the people that you spend the most time with, maybe your best friends. And then, if you're involved in a team or a group, maybe you're on a ball team or an academic team or a band, answer these questions with that group of people. And then answer these same questions with your family in mind. You could even do this with your workplace and your teachers or professors, different groups of friends. And this will help you to get an idea of which groups of friends, which groups of people are more equally yoked to you, meaning you have the same values, you have the same virtuous character, you're striving to have morals and ethics. And those are the people that you want to spend more time with, right? Because you can energize each other, fuel each other, hold each other accountable, lift each other up. And when you're with someone that's more worldly, that thinks everything is relative, well, it might be wrong for you, but it's right for me. Or, oh, that's old school. Life's changed. Things are different now. Or, well, everybody's doing it. When you're with that group of people, you have to be more guarded. You have to be on guard, have courage, have strength, have confidence to remain true to yourself. And that can be draining, frankly. It can be difficult. Your assignment. I want you to take the quiz. So in your workbook, you have the quiz. Go ahead and take it. It shows you how to score it. Self-reflection. I want you to consider what virtuous character you have and how that lays a foundation for all the decisions that you make. You've seen a few examples. Have you had those same situations happen to you? There's a few bonus questions in your workbook, and if you join us in our other classes, we'll do some role playing to help you really think about your virtuous character and the decisions you're making, but also to give you practice in putting up those boundaries and the courage to know what to say when it happens. Ask others. Ask your friends and family about your character, and if you consistently behave the same way in all situations, regardless of who you're with, where you're at, this is a great way to put yourself out there and be vulnerable. Look for some feedback. Do I act differently when I'm with my sports team than when I'm with my academic team? Do I act differently when I'm with my best friend than when I'm with my grandparents? Do I act differently when I'm at work versus when I'm at school versus when I'm at church? Role play. Work with someone you trust that has a similar value system and role play different situations. You could get a big group together. This would be a great exercise for a youth group. And come up with different scenarios. Write them down on a piece of paper, put them in a fishbowl, and just draw them out and role play. Now, I want to encourage you to do this with people that have virtuous character. Because if you do this with people that are more worldly, then it's not worth role-playing. Because that's the easy way. That's the, unfortunately, more common way to respond. And we're looking for courage, distinction, uniqueness, that you know what your values are. You know what's inside of you. You know what you believe, and you're willing to stand up for it. And finally, get support. Your family should be first. But not all families are the same. And I know that. So you have to gauge that for yourself. Your friends, same thing. Your pastor, guidance counselor, teachers, we're all human beings. I would look for people that support you, that also have virtuous character. I don't want you to go to your friend that continues to lie to you and let you down and ask them what they would do in a situation about virtuous character. I want you to go to your friends that already have virtuous character and have these conversations about, hey, I'm struggling. I really like this other person, and I'm feeling this desire to do something that I promised myself I wouldn't do. Can you help hold me accountable? Absolutely. When you're in an ethical situation at school or at work or anywhere, you need to have a buddy that you can call and say, hey, I was sent this text with this picture in it. I knew I shouldn't look at it, but I did. What do I do? I feel wrong. I feel dirty. I feel like something's not right. What do I do? You need someone you can talk to about those situations. In our group, in our class, at the Dean Moral Compass Academy, we're all striving to have virtuous character. And we're all in it together. Nobody's perfect. But as we work together, it's okay to admit we've made a mistake. It's okay, and it's recommended that you admit when you make mistakes. Because once we speak it, we can get the support and help that we need. Help that can prevent it from happening in the future. And we role play in our groups. So other people that are already striving to have virtuous character are role playing with each other. If you're interested in more of this and how you yourself can have virtuous character, noble character, high standards of moral ethics, I want to encourage you to sign up for additional classes and join us as we're figuring this out together. We're holding each other accountable, and we're helping to support one another. Okay, I hope you have enjoyed that class, that lesson. It's a little heavy, I admit it, but it makes all the difference. All the difference in the decisions that we make in life, with relationships, with choices. I do want to encourage you to take more classes to help you become a more virtuous person, to help you with your character. Have a great day, and I look forward to talking soon.